Welcome to the United States of America podcast. I am your host, Niti, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here on North Carolina. If you've missed past episodes, please be sure to take the time to watch the first episode and watch the rest like a documentary. We are people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We are shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you. We are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. We have moderators who are assisting in the comment section. Be kind and self-govern. If you have questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. I am joined on air with Greg Clarkson, who is a regenerative farmer and an ASN here on Kansas. And now I'm proud to introduce you to Justice Anna Maria, who is joining us live from Alaska today. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I'm tongue-tied, but maybe it's because of this crazy election day or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I had a great question, Niti, for Anna. You know, we're in this global corporate election, whatever you want to call it. But I had a question that I thought of last night, and then I did some reading this morning. I was going to ask you what the Galactic Federation Council thought of this, but I realized that's the wrong question. What I think I really want to know is, what do the cosmic forces from the center sun think of what's going on with this situation?
This is a phone call I have to take.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, they're like, no, girl, you can't talk about that today. No, I'm just
There's synchronicity right there.
They're like, don't go there. Don't do it.
They heard the words coming out of my mouth and boom.
They're like, no.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I read the article. I don't know what article number it is, but it's the article on Done with Evil is the name of it, the title of it. And it's very good. It's been a while since I've read that. And Niti, after you and I were talking yesterday, I decided to go out to her site and do some searching. And I came across that article and I realized it's the cosmic forces from the central sun, the enforcers of the universal law. That's what I'm really curious about. What do they think about?
You need to ask that again slower, because you were talking so fast that it didn't even come out. But and then we'll know, we can test it, because then her phone might ring again. No, I'm just kidding.
I was extending the tongue-tiedness.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Because there's the theater that's playing out with this corporate global one world global election that has nothing to do with America at all. But under the guise of it's not the United States of America, like actually the American people. It's the U.S. Corporation.
But it's very effective theater, unfortunately. It wraps up a lot of people into it.
Yeah, I mean, anyone out there in the YouTube land that isn't aware of what we're talking about here, like, what in the world are these people talking about? What we're talking about is the fact that the people in charge, who a lot of folks don't want to identify, but we clearly identify them here as the Vatican and the Crown. That's the people in charge. And then, then you have these families that folks, rumor mill talk about. And so, yeah, those are some of the puppets that are part of the corporatocracy. But for anyone who isn't really up to speed.
Which all that goes back to the article I was bringing up. Again, it's called Done with Evil.
Yeah.
And it's the discussion about the fallout of the plasma wars is what the article is about, which ended 32,000 years ago. And Anna was mentioning that last night, I think, on the call that was going on was the plasma wars. But basically, we're still dealing with that fallout. Satan was struck down, the fallen angels. And that's what we're dealing with. That's the origin of what this situation is.
Right. That's That's what she's encouraging everybody to do. Hold on, let me figure out what the name of this last article she just wrote. I'm trying to pull it up so I can give you the actual name of it. But she just wrote it because the story that she was sharing with us was when Krishnji stopped evil, like when he ended evil. So, we keep saying that this is a race to control our consciousness. That's what's going on here. It's a race to control our consciousness. And so Anna is encouraging, sorry?
Which is our energy.
Exactly. I mean, it's our soul, it's our spirit, right? So she just wrote the article. She says, whatever, hold on. She just wrote it. Explicitly our election.
I see a question on somebody asking what the plasma wars are. I would just suggest to go search for that Done with Evil article. It's not really describing what the plasma wars are, but it talks about what's gone on since then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They also call it the war in the heavens. That's the other term. So, and I think that's interesting is we talk a lot about the three jurisdictions, land, air, and water, or law. But there are more jurisdictions than that.
Why don't you just go into it? Go ahead, Gregory.
No, I don't want to do it without the expert. But there are jurisdictions beyond law, land, air, and water, and that's where the Galactic Council, Galactic Federation Council come into play. Oh, here's Anna. She can help me out here.
She can help you out.
Well, all of this stuff kind of grew out of World War II, and it began in earnest after the use of the atom bomb, which is what actually stimulated the kind of contact that went on in the years immediately afterward, because there was a fear that we were going to really screw up and destroy ourselves and destroy the planet and pull another situation like Mars, where the entire atmosphere was ripped off the planet by the misuse and abuse of scalar weaponry.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Wow.
So that's what forced the hand of the so-called alien races. They're not really alien. They've been here forever. They've been around longer than we have in some cases. And so I kind of it's like I have this problem with the word and use of indigenous. I also have the problem with the use of the word alien. We're all just here. All right. Okay. And so you've got these various humanoid races of beings that basically have the ability to mask their presence by vibrating at a different rate.
Well, because we're vibrational beings. And, speaking of that, Anna, I am sharing in the ticker there, your article, Pay Attention. No matter what they tell you, pay attention. I was looking for it because you're encouraging we were just saying that there's a race to control our consciousness.
Right.
And so you're encouraging the meditation. So friends, if you'll go to this Pay Attention PDF article, then she's explaining that. And last night you were talking about when Krishnji won against evil, which is also Diwali, which is the celebration of Diwali when we celebrate, the war against evil.
Right. Exactly. And more evidence is coming forth to prove that the Ramayana isn't just a fable or a religious text or anything. It's not just a great war story. It actually happened.
Right. I mean, they show this in film in India, and they also show the Bhagavad Gita, which are these big battles between good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what Anna's saying, y'all, is that these are really true. And, every time you say stuff, Anna, then I go back to how it was presented to us, because they took our truth, the corporatocracy, or the Galactic Federation, or whoever, I don't know, whoever it is. But like you were saying, like, look, Mr. Trump, we just want all our information. We want everyone to just know everything about this planet. And we're sick of not being able to share the entire truth with everyone.
Well, and to have a truth minimalized as legend.
Oh, no, but Anna, remember, we all went to school, right? And so they sent us to school so that we could be made to believe that truth only comes from authority.
Well, just for example, we found the ancient city of Dwarka.
Mm.
Okay. For a long time, it was, oh, well, there was no such city and there was no such, development. The things that were described in the Ramayana were false. It was all just imagination. Well, and then we find pictures of vimanas carved into, hieroglyphs that are thousands of years old all over the planet. Oh, well, maybe vimanas actually existed. Maybe they had a propulsion system that we don't understand. Maybe they were able to levitate into the air in ways that we only dream of. So we find vimanas all over. I mean, we find them in Hindu temples, yes, but we also find them in Aztec temples.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that. And so as our awareness and our archaeological database grows, it becomes more and more apparent that, hey, these civilizations were connected. They knew about each other. They had similar technologies. Their technologies are different than ours, but that, everything that we are now learning about the relationship between sound, magnetism, and electricity tells us that there is a very rational way in which these technologies worked. And we now know how they worked. Okay, so there's one. And then we find things that are referred to, like the bridge between Asia and Southeast Asia and India.
Mm-hmm.
And by golly, you go and you look on LiDAR scans and tomographic scans, and you can see that there was a bridge there. It's now underwater, but there was a bridge, just as it's described. Oh my! Who knew? And so, all of these things are becoming much more historical. In order for things to be historical, we need some evidence that it was real, right?
Oh, you mean the truth, Anna? Wait a second. Wait. So the truth isn't coming from authority. The truth is just simply there because it's real. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, because I didn't know that my thermos was my thermos unless you tell me that, because, you have some authority over me, right? Okay, I'm just trying to make a point, because I'm kind of sick and tired of everybody looking for Anna to tell us how we can operate, because you're our summoning authority, right? So everybody wants Anna to say it. And I'm like, y'all are operating with such a corporate mind, because you can't seem to recognize that this desk is a desk, and I don't need Anna to come and tell me that it's a desk. So if we have eyes to see and ears to hear, and we can know that 1 and 1 is 2, then those of us who can comprehend and discern that might just recognize this desk as for what it is, right?
Yes, you might. And so we might also recognize that a lot of things that we've been told were fairy tales are real, or were real. We have evidence all over the world of giant reptiles, dinosaurs and flying lizards and things that resemble dragons, frankly, that explain where the idea of dragons came from. In prehistory, true, but and we have the skeletons of giants. We now know for sure that giantism was not just a fluke of genetics and runaway growth hormones. We know that there was a race of giants that lived on this planet, and some of them reached incredible heights. Some of them were like 3 stories tall, 36 feet. I mean, imagine a man who was the size of a 4-story building wandering around. Okay.
That's how they fit into these Tartarian buildings, right? Or the old, what are they called? The, what are they saying? They're calling them the, not the old buildings. What does that guy call them? He calls them the, what's our lunchbox friend call them? He calls them something.
Tartarian.
Well, they're Tartarian, and he also old world buildings. Old world.
Yeah. Old world.
Well, and we have evidence just north of Jerusalem. There's an area where the Amorites lived, and the Amorites were giant people. Yeah. And the houses, the abandoned houses there have doorways that are 16 feet tall.
Right. And what about the Taj Mahal? How did that get built, Anna? Because the doorways for the Taj are like 40 feet tall or more. They might be more than 40 feet tall, but they're at least 40 feet tall to enter the tomb. If it's a tomb, is it not a power station? We don't really know, do we?
No, there are so many of these things that we don't know. And we've been directly misled. And just don't pay attention to that. That was just a fairy tale. Okay, well, I've got a skeleton here, and the skull is the size of a bushel basket. You're telling me that it's a fairy tale? So these skeletons have been found all over the world. So that there's no mistaking the fact that there was a race of people or humanoid beings here that lived on this planet that ranged anywhere from around 8 feet tall to 36 feet tall. 36 feet is the largest skeleton that I have heard of, but that doesn't mean that's the largest one ever found. Mm-hmm. But still, you see these giant skeletons that are being found all over the place, and they can no longer hush this up. And so, yes, there were giants. And sometimes there still are giants because it's in our genetic quotient. And every once in a while, you'll have people that are 8, 10 feet tall. They still appear sporadically right now in this world that we're living in. You can still find instances of giants. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and so I don't call these aliens. I call them humanoids because they're not necessarily Homo sapiens, right? But they have the same basic game plan. They have a head. They have appendages, arms of some kind or another. Sometimes they have multiple arms, like Lord Krishna.
Mm-hmm. Or Kalima, or yeah.
And sometimes they have skin that's tinged blue. Mm-hmm. We've seen that, or gray, So they have different colors of skin than we see among the human population on the planet now. But aside from those things, they have appendages, they have a head, they have eyes, they have sensory organs of various kinds, So I call it, everybody that has a body shape like ours, generally I call a humanoid, right? Yeah. And there are also very sentient and intelligent beings that are not humanoid. There are intelligent beings that are insectoid. Are intelligent beings that are built on different body plans, basically. but that doesn't mean that they don't have a brain, or they don't think, or they don't feel. And so, I think that we're coming to a point where we have to recognize more forms of sentient life. And we need to re-examine our definition of what sentient is, or, is it that these things are not sentient, or that we're not attuned enough to be able to communicate? There are arguments to be made that crystals are living structures because they are highly ordered and they have the ability to interact with electricity and magnetism and sound.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
they definitely transport energy, that's for sure.
Yep.
Right. And so there are a lot of things here that are under examination, scientifically and otherwise, to determine, kind of expanding our view of what life is, and what creates life, and why those that are alive share something precious in common that we should all be striving to not only protect, but to promote and to interact with in a positive way. The discussions that I've been part of have kind of focused on how arrogant and mean we are as a race. We're arrogant and mean toward each other, and we're arrogant and mean toward the earth, and we're intolerant of other races, much less other forms of life. And we don't have any respect for life, and that's basically not having any respect for yourself as a living being, because you are a personification of life. So when you don't have any respect for yourself, and when you don't have any care for yourself, and you don't have any care for others, how can you be expected to show care for, say, the mycelium of a mushroom?
Right.
The fact is that life is unique and precious, and we are trampling on it 24/7. And we have a very skewed, and from the perspective of, shall we say, older races, we have a very arrogant and very destructive pattern, as if we're all 2-year-olds with hammers. And all we do is run around and destroy and trample, and don't even stop and think about what we're doing.
Think. Well, come on, Anna. Now that would require us to be conscious, and we're not, because, we're following the programming. So the programming is exactly designed to take over the consciousness, and that's what it does. It says, turn blue, turn red, and then people do, and that's all they're doing. They're not, and also they buy insurance to make sure that it doesn't matter what they choose, because whatever it is that they do, they don't have to be responsible for it. So, I mean, that's what insurance is for. Come on, Anna. Like, that's, they buy insurance to make sure that they don't have to actually be responsible for anything, because they couldn't be responsible for anything, because it's too expensive to be responsible for anything, because, insurance.
Well, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I answered Gregory. After World War II, because of the atom bomb stuff and the other sorts of things that went on, we were contacted by a race of beings, humanoid beings, that are popularly called the Greys.
Mm-hmm.
And President Eisenhower talked with the representatives of the Greys, and they came up with a treaty. And it's called the Greta Treaty. And it's recorded. We have copies of it. And it basically established a quid pro quo between the government of the United States corporation and these humanoids. And in exchange for certain technological information, things that they thought we were prepared to be able to use wisely, they were allowed to um, harvest certain animals, and they were able to abduct a limited number of humans from our population, people from our population, each year for their own study and understanding. Okay. And so basically, Eisenhower signed this outrageous treaty, and it's been in effect since 1952. And during the intervening years, more and more of the various, I will call them humanoid races, have appeared and put in their 2 cents on all of the stuff going on. And there have been other treaties that have affected the law of the sea. The G2P30 treaty is a treaty of the sea that allows transit of alien races to sea bases. And so they're not seen because they're way out at sea. Okay, they're operating these underwater and under sea cities, basically. Okay, so anyway, these things are known. These are not. This is not fringe stuff. This is stuff that you can find if you look in the right places, and if you know some of the people that are involved. It's just treaties that are established among these various humanoid races that have an interest in this planet, either because they have colonies here and have had colonies here for hundreds of thousands of years, or because they're concerned about environmental damage and how that's affecting the web of life on the planet. There are all these different viewpoints. I mean, if you're a phytoplankton, the pollution of the ocean is of prime importance to you. Okay. And so if you're a mushroom, the proliferation of poisonous materials in the atmosphere is of importance to you. And we're just not able to conceive of life as being that intelligent and interconnected. But everything that we are learning from these more quote unquote advanced races, although there again, I don't like to use the word advanced, because in some ways they're not as advanced as we are. It's more like we were on different evolutionary pathways. And so, they gained some things and lost some things, and we gained some things and lost some things. We're all about the same age in terms of creation. Creation in this universe that we know began about 13.8 billion years ago. But anyway, there are some races that are more technologically advanced. There are some that are more peaceful and therefore have had a steadier progression of their evolution than we have. But are they really more advanced, or were they just lucky, or were they just had the benefit of better leadership or more honest leadership?
Well, I wonder, have we had a chance to prove that we are either peaceful or not as a race because of the presence of Satan and the fallen angels, here on our earth?
Mm-hmm.
Have we really been given the chance to prove ourselves? Maybe we have, but without that presence, if we could cast out Satan and cast out, the evil, then it seems like we would have a true chance to prove ourselves.
Well, what they call it is the spirit of falsehood, Greg. Um, and the spirit of falsehood is what keeps us crippled. It's what, if we're lied to, if we're given half truths, then that impedes our progress. But it also has the halcyon effect of forcing us to develop the capacity of discernment between good and evil.
Mm.
And if you think about it, the Bible story certainly tells us that discernment between good and evil is the fruit of the tree of knowledge.
Right.
Okay. So that's the tree. The tree that we ate from was the tree of knowledge, and knowledge requires you to discern between good and evil. And so we are certainly in a prep school to learn exactly that.
Yeah.
And to the extent that we speak truth and as to the best of our ability, okay, then we are in alignment with life and we're in alignment with creation. But when we are just spewing a bunch of lies and omissions and telling people that they're imagining things when in fact they're actually remembering, or their culture is remembering things that happened that were historical. You see, we're playing with a stacked deck all the time because of the spirit of falsehood. But when we make the decision to tell the truth to the best of our ability at all times, then the spirit of falsehood is pushed into the background, and our ability to discern the truth in all matters increases exponentially. Right. I think I've said this before, and I've explained it. What happened to me is that I got to a point in my life where I just didn't give a damn. Mm-hmm. And I was like, life was not worth living if it had to be lived like this, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked at my world, I looked at myself, and I just made this little tiny decision, which was, okay, from now on, I'm just going to say whatever I believe to be true. To the best of my ability, I'm going to make the effort to always tell the truth, even about inconsequential, stupid little stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to make any excuses like, my dog ate my homework. Yeah. I'm not going to gild any lilies. If I can't say anything nice, I won't say anything at all, that kind of thing. I just made the pledge to myself that I was not going to lie anymore about anything.
Mm-hmm. What was that for you, Anna? Because that happened with me too. And it was when my daughter died. And so for me, it was like, I knew what it was that caused her to die. And a lot of it was going along to get along, meaning like following the orthodoxy to get the vaccinations, to go to whatever, to, eat at McDonald's, to eat at whatever with everybody, whatever the crap they're eating, like letting Chick-fil-A, host and, whatever, all the food for our soccer game or whatever. And I had to quit doing that. Like I had to decide that that's poison and it's a lie. And I'm not going to pretend and I'm not going to act like it's fine. And I'm not going to let my kids eat it because one of my kids is dead. So that therefore I have to be very specific and I have to, which obviously made us very unpopular because we weren't going along to get along anymore. And now we were just really hard to accommodate because we made everything from scratch or else we didn't eat it. And that's just one small thing. But like, what was it for you?
Well, we're all herd animals to a certain extent. A lot of research has been done on happiness, what makes us happy. And it turns out that our commercial world doesn't make us happy. In fact, it has very little impact on happiness. Our material wealth above a certain point of having food and water and housing, it just doesn't really have a big effect on happiness. What gives us joy is using our skills in a positive way and being accepted by our community and having a community of friends that approve of us and love us. Yeah. And so happiness is more a matter of social acceptance and personal expression than it is anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know this. We've researched the whole topic of happiness and what makes you happy or not. And so in our search for happiness, we want to belong and we don't want to be outcast or castigated. But at some points in our lives, we will take a different road because we see the necessity of doing so. And we wish that more people would come with us on that road because they would be happier and healthier, and they would be more enlightened if they would. Okay, so we want to bring our community with us instead of being separated from our community, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Yep.
And so, but as for me, I was 26 years old, and it was a kind of a strange day. I woke up, and I had a mirror. Actually, a mirrored cabinet, an armoire that had a mirror on it. And I was standing there looking at myself this morning, and I thought, everything you're doing is for naught. Everything, that you're spending your energy for nothing. You're just on this treadmill like a hamster in a wheel. And if this is what life is about, then it's not worth living.
Yeah.
And you're basically caught up in a system of lies where everybody gets paid to lie and to ignore and look the other way. And this isn't a worthy thing either. And so, I guess at that moment, something just sort of gelled in me, and I thought, well, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to spend my life doing useless things. I'm not going to spend my life lying to other people. And I'm not going to spend my life ignoring what's in front of my face. And at that moment, I had, whether I verbalized it or intellectualized it in exactly this way or not, I had made a pledge to the truth. I had committed to just telling the truth, whatever, to the best of my ability, for what I could sense and see and experience and learn. I was just not going to hold back anything anymore, right? And so that's what happened to me, was just this kind of crystallization of the will to tell the truth to the best of my knowledge and ability. Wow. And the weird thing that I never expected was that when I did that, then all of a sudden, all the lies became all that much more apparent. It was like my what I call my shinola sensor, shinola sensor went into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
And I could suddenly see all the lies that were surrounding me and which were in creating all the problems,
Crystal clear. It's crystal clear. And you know what's interesting too is it gives you a level of tolerance over time. Like for you to have that experience at 26, what a blessing. I mean, I wish I would have had that experience so young. I feel like we were kind of late to the game, and it's kind of sad. But and perhaps, I mean, I wouldn't have had to go through what I had to go through and lose my daughter, had I like realized that sooner. But I'm glad it happened, and I'm glad it happened the way that it did. And it definitely, it's very liberating, right, Anna? I mean, it really cleans things up, because when you walk like that, then everything just falls into place everywhere. And whatever's going to happen isn't going to go on for that long, because it just has nothing to stand on.
Right. The truth is the truth, and it's always simple. Mm-hmm. The truth is always simple. It always reduces down to really simple principles and simple relationships and, simple things. It's all the lies that are convoluted and complex. I mean, but each little truth is simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh,
Yeah.
that's one of the things, one of the hallmarks of the whole thing. And I was just having a discussion this morning about the assemblies, the various assemblies all over the country that have all these different, interpersonal personality conflicts and groups of cronies that form and all of the kind of stuff that goes on. And the truth is that when you have that kind of divisiveness, it is absolute proof that you're infected with the corporate mindset.
Yeah.
Because that's where all that divisiveness comes from.
The
Is that
competition. Yeah.
yeah, it is the corporate mindset. So when you have groups of cronies and you have smear campaigns against one person or another, and you have um, uh, all this kind of competitive, divisive us or them thinking, that is absolute proof that you are infected. Your assembly is infected with the corporate mindset. And then it's up to you to examine where it's coming from and what you can do to overcome it. Because we're not a corporation. We don't have a fearless leader at the helm. We are a community. And the whole mentality of the corporation, the us versus them, and the climbing the ladder, and the all this imaginary poop that we've been suckered into believing in, is reduced right down to just me and you. We're just sitting at the table together, right? It's mano a mano. There isn't this structure. That imaginary structure is gone in our government.
Mm-hmm.
And instead we have functions. We have jobs to do. We have work to do. But it doesn't imply that, the greatest among us is not also the least among us.
Right.
George Washington had bad teeth right along with the rest of us, right? So we're getting down to something that's real here. We're not creating all these separations and degrees of authority and grand poobahs. This is what this is about. This is about just me, you sitting down at the dinner table with a cup of coffee and saying, okay, here's our world. How are we going to improve it? Here's our government. How are we going to improve it? How are we going to make life better and more secure for all of us? Not just me and not just my buddies, but for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
All of us. And, not even just my country, but for the entire planet. How are we together going to change this situation where we've got constant war, constant environmental destruction, constant delusions based on commercial things that are really not that important, and that don't give us happiness? I mean, what are we valuing here? If we're not valuing life and happiness, what else is there?
Right.
I mean, their drama and their theater, really. But okay, so you guys,
I have a technical question, Niti. I have a technical question for Anna.
Okay, I'm going to let you do your technical question, but listen, everybody, we missed you, Anna, because you got hit with the snowstorm last week, so people didn't get to ask their questions. And so after Greg's question, is it okay for us to just jump on the questions? Okay. Go ahead, Greg.
So I'm an engineer, so I'm a logical mind. And first of all, I was going to say, if you had that experience at 26, that must have been like 5 years ago. So I'm really glad.
We'll get you a good
Exactly. So no, my technical question, and you brought this up last night, and you talked about essentially the physics experiment that was performed with the Milton situation, and you talked about, I'll just say it in a funny way, our 1.21 gigawatts of energy, a play off of a movie, right? But seriously, you talked about channeling, and you talked about the use of like a pyramid. Could you elaborate a little more on that? On on the channeling method and the use of something like a pyramid for channeling?
Well, it turns out that all energy in the universe takes on the form of a toroid, a torus, like a donut. Okay.
Yep.
And then if you introduce a cone-shaped resonator, you can create a vehicle to form a pinpoint laser-like powerful beam of energy. It's called a Saber wave using sound. Okay, so this technology is now just being developed and we're being made aware of it, okay? But it's thousands and thousands of years old. And we know that it can be used to levitate huge objects, including things like, limestone blocks. So it explains how the ancient people were able to do all of this incredible stonework, among other things. It also explains the cones shaped, we see all these hieroglyphs and relief carvings of men holding these pine cone objects. Well, those weren't pine cones. Those were antennas.
Yeah.
They're basically cone-shaped antennas. And we know that this works. We know how this works now. And we know the most powerful antennas that were ever developed that have been developed are simply metal plates with cones on them. Cones.
Yep.
And we know that our eyes work the same way. What do we have in our eyes? We have rods and cones. We have an iris, which is the shape of a donut, right? So all of this technology is built into our physiology, and it's also apparent in the external world. But because we were kept so focused on electricity for commercial reasons, instead of on magnetism and on sound
and vibration,
we never put it all together.
Yeah, it's all the vibration, like you're harnessing it.
Right.
Yeah, everything's vibration. Light's vibration, sound's vibration, everything's vibration.
Right.
Well,
it's just like to what degree, right?
Well, and the magic of it is if you attune yourself to a vibration, to a thought feeling, it begins as a thought, okay, and then it connects to the heart, and then it coalesces as a actual physical manifestation of that vibration, which is part of a harmonic scale, right?
Yeah.
So if you manifest that vibration in the harmonic of the visible spectrum, suddenly you'll see red violet light if you're feeling love. Okay.
Yes.
And if you're feeling love or you're feeling gratitude, that vibration will nudge out hate and fear and everything else. It'll just, suddenly everything is very peaceful, everything is harmonious, everybody's happy, and we are all on the same wavelength. We're vibrating with the same goodwill toward the world and toward each other. And suddenly all of this competitiveness and fear and need to control and all the manipulative behavior, all that ugliness just disappears.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. Love is the divine solvent of everything.
So, the interesting thing is we know this, we can induce this, we can choose this. We can choose the mindset, we can choose the heart set, we can manifest it. We can be in that vibratory realm. Why don't we choose it? It's a choice. Okay? You have a choice between love and hate. You have a choice between life and death. You have a choice between good and evil. Why not choose good? Why not choose love? Why not choose life?
You're so free. You can even choose bondage, Anna. That's why. And
Yeah, you can choose the opposite. You can choose slavery. You can choose whatever you want. You have free will. But here's the haunting question. If you have free will, why aren't you choosing abundance for everyone? Why aren't you choosing a planet that is free of pollution and healthy? Why aren't you choosing peace instead of war? Okay? You have to ask yourselves these fundamental questions because you're now aware that you have a choice.
Right.
You
Well,
have a
you
choice.
gotta stop listening to the rock and the songs, the lyrics. You have to stop listening to the television show that's saying you can't handle the truth. You have to stop listening to the things that are saying that, you know, it's funny when they say money doesn't grow on trees, Anna, because it doesn't, because it's gold or it's silver, right? And it's not the paper. But but they're telling you, they're noticing everyone, and they have them practicing saying all these wrong things, you know?
Memes. Yeah, those are called memes. Just like that's where it comes from. Memes are thoughts that are like genes, and they get passed on generation to generation. We now know that the experience of our ancestors going back 22 generations
Mm.
is imprinted on our DNA. And
Wow.
so if we had relatives who were slaves, the identity of slavery is imprinted on us 22 generations later. If we had ancestors who were kings, that is imprinted on us 22 generations later. And it affects our epigenetic code, the expression, the software of our DNA. And it also affects our mental and emotional capacities. All of the trauma that our ancestors experienced, and also all of the benefits and all of the good times that our ancestors experienced, is imprinted on us subconsciously.
But
And
we
we
can overcome it with our current thoughts, and we can overcome all of that with our choices. And isn't it great, Anna, that your provenance doesn't even go back 22 years before it was more positive than that? And that's the same thing for many of us, actually. If we really look back, I look at Rohit's family, like his father is the first generation that had to go get a job because they were still able to maintain their fiefdom in India all these years, all these generations up until his dad's generation. So
well,
my father-in-law has one of the highest vibrations of most people that I know. He vibrates very, very high.
yeah.
And he believes a lot of this crap because he's been corporatized and, he worked at a job and all these things, but he's happy.
Well, have you noticed that it's always a matter of what you put your attention on?
Of course. Yeah.
If you direct your attention toward all your blessings and all the things you're grateful for, you're
Yeah.
in an entirely different mood and mindset than if you concentrate on all the things you lack and all the things that
Yeah.
are worrisome.
Absolutely. Like he's not like, a billionaire or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but he's the most joyful, happy, high. He's high on life, you
Right.
know, and it's just whatever he would be high on life if you just stuck him in a dark room. He's just happy.
Well, look at our friend Hunter.
Yeah.
11 years on death's door. Literally, heart failure for 11 years, waiting for a heart transplant, which in itself is a scary, risky, incredible thing.
Mm-hmm.
11 years of staring death in the face every single day. And he's one of the happiest, most grateful, most upbeat, most joyous people you will ever meet, simply because he really had to come to terms with how precious life is
Mm-hmm.
and how precious everybody is. And
Everybody. Yeah. And so Gregory last week when we were talking, he was talking about the vibration of wealth. Right, Greg? And Greg was saying that, you can have everything, but if you don't vibrate on the same frequency, as that energy, it will wash through you.
Yeah. If you want to, if you want to have a more abundant life, it's a matter of where you're putting your attention.
Yes.
And if you want to have more love in your life, then you are giving more love and experiencing more love.
And loving yourself too, because if you don't love yourself, how can anybody else love you?
Right. Okay, so if that's your focus, then that's what you're going to get. It's like the biblical thing: ask and you will receive.
You got to give.
Yeah.
Ask and it is given. Ask and it is given.
And so and also give and you'll get back.
Exactly.
Right.
There's a dynamic here.
That's what the tithe is. That's what the
reflection. It's the energy. It's the reflection of everything.
Give and you'll get tenfold returned. Steal and you'll have tenfold taken.
That's right.
Exactly. And these are laws of life and reality, the natural laws that operate that we're unaware of, we're never taught. We kind of have to stumble our way into them. And we should be teaching these to our children so that they're not having to go through that same idiot shit process of, So
we're teaching it. We're teaching it. Greg's teaching it. He's got some brilliant progeny over there. You're going to be very excited to get to know them, Anna, because they're coming on board. Yep. So just so you know, his son is 100% ready to come on board. And so we're having a great time talking this up and bringing the young'uns on. So we're trying to bring all the young men.
My son's 30, so don't date me from that, but he's 30 and he's ready to go.
Yeah,
we're bringing the progeny. So
well, that has to happen. If anything that we're doing is going to have an effect on the world and be permanent and lasting, then it has to be transferred to the next generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, you guys. So everybody's going to be mad at me for interrupting y'all, but we're going to go to the questions. Okay. Okay. So, Anna, can we be an ASN and this is supposed to be dual citizen to another country outside of the United States?
Yes.
How does that work? Because we literally need to know that is there some special thing we have to do with the paperwork, or it just obviously makes them an ASN and not an ASC, right?
Right. They can't be an ASC because they have an affiliation and loyalty to a different government, right?
Right.
They are, as far as we're concerned, if they have naturalized to this country and they are, they moved here as a young person and they've retained a dual citizenship in another country, that's their business. It's their private life, right? Mm-hmm. Say that I'm born in Ireland and grow up in Ireland until I'm 10 years old, and then my father takes a job in the U.S. and comes to this country, and I finish high school here and college here, and I grow up and I marry someone from here, and okay, so I'm a fully integrated, naturalized, American, but I'm also Irish by descent and culture, and I've learned Gaelic, and I have deep roots going back to the old country, right?
Yes.
We have quite a few people who are in that status. So they're dual nationals is what it's called. They don't necessarily have to have the citizenship in another country. They can just be dual nationals. We have the same thing with all the Indian tribes. We have 248 federally recognized tribal nations. Mm-hmm. And we probably have, if we're honest, probably another 70 more that were never federally recognized, but nonetheless exist within the culture of the native nations. Okay, so we have all these native nations here. Mm-hmm. The kids that I grew up with in Wisconsin were Winnebago. Okay, so they were part of the Ho-Chunka Nation. They were dual nationals at birth. They were part of the Ho-Chunka Nation, but they were also Wisconsinites. Okay, so big deal. Many nations can occupy the same space. and people can have, dual nationality without any big problem. Everybody just needs to get along and appreciate each other and appreciate, the fact that differences add to life. They don't subtract to life. Okay.
That's
If you
right.
look at the natural world, what do you see?
Diversity.
Yeah.
How many different kinds of trees? How many different kinds of insects? How many different kinds of mushrooms? How many different kinds of flowers? I
Yeah.
mean, everywhere you see that the creator is a madman when it comes to diversity and working out new patterns and varieties, constant, creativity going into the planet. Everything from the tiniest little seashell to the stars in the heavens.
Yeah.
There's every different kind. And so, let's not miss the point, folks. This is here for a reason. We have different kinds and colors. We have different shapes. We have different diversity among the people on the planet. We have diversity among the humanoids. We have diversity among jackasses. I mean, come on now. Let's not fight against diversity and think that homogeneity is the natural state of being, because it's not. It's observably not. We don't come here. All this unnaturalness. It's unnatural to take 5-year-olds and just kind of clump them in a group and make them spend all day with other 5-year-olds because they're 5 years old, right?
Right.
That's completely unnatural. In our natural state, we are constantly interacting with people of all different ages. So we create this unnatural peer group, and this unnatural situation, and we force our kids to go through school with kids that are all the same age as them, regardless of where their development in any particular area is. And people like Rudolf Steiner looked at this and said, "This is crazy."
Yeah.
Why are you forcing people into this homogeneous block of it doesn't work.
And also, they didn't do it that long. I mean, it was not that long ago when you had a one-room classroom. I mean, it was like the Waltons family. So really, you guys, that's why we know that homeschool's coming back, and it's the way.
We still have a lot of those that exist. None of them are operating, but the old country schools exist a lot out in the rural area here where I'm at in Kansas.
You can bring them back to life over there. That would be wonderful.
And in fact, my daughter-in-law is really looking into that. So they're young, full of energy, and they're really looking at doing something along those lines where it's homeschooling, but it's microschooling, but to combine different age groups of kids so they can learn from one another.
That's what we did. That's what our group was for our kids.
Okay, well, imagine you've got a group of people of all different ages, all everything from 5-year-olds to 30-year-olds. And they have one thing in common: none of them can read.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Does it make any sense to have a completely different curriculum for the 30-year-old versus the 5-year-old?
Nope. They'll all learn faster together. That's what I know.
Yep. And the 5-year-old will beat the 30-year-old.
Yeah.
And they'll teach each other.
Yes.
This is the power that we're missing in this school system.
Exactly.
Of the older kids to teach the younger kids.
Yep.
Well, that's why we did the micro school, and it was fantastic. Our children were thriving as a side effect of it, and it's been the best thing that we ever did. So, yeah. Okay, the next question says, if I remove my, okay, so it says DSA, they meant DBA from the SOS system and convey to the land, what stops anyone from mirroring the name from the de facto side? Anna, isn't this fascinating? So they're worried about the competition if they have a private business from the corporate side with the same name. I think that's what they're concerned about. But what do we think about that?
Well, if you want to run your corporation, you have a choice. Okay. you can be a maritime corporation and be subject to all of the laws and idiocy of the maritime system, or you can run your corporation as a land corporation and come under the land law. So, you can register your corporation's name on the de facto side, and you can record your corporation's name on the land jurisdiction side, and you can arrange your affairs accordingly, and you can still be corporate, but not be part of that system. Okay. Niti went through this. This is in fact what was the big hoo-ha about Niti's corporation.
Yeah.
It still shows up as registered. The name is registered, okay? But then she recorded over the registration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that lawfully conveys the corporation back to the land jurisdiction, which, remember, is international in nature. So it's just a straight across the board. Everything was unlawfully conveyed into the sea jurisdiction. Well, you can lawfully convey it back to the land jurisdiction. And it's really a pretty simple operation. And it's registered at sea and it's recorded on the land. And there you have the complete package. It's all in your control. And how you operate is up to you. If you want to, you can operate at sea. If you want to, you can operate on the land. Now, operating on the land has a lot of advantages, especially if you have a business that doesn't involve shipping things internationally. I mean, if you don't have to ship something to France or get something from France for your business, there's really no reason for you to operate on the sea, is there?
Nope.
So, a lot of corporations would be money ahead and time and everything else ahead by simply operating as land jurisdiction corporations, doing what Niti did and getting an EIN that's for banking purposes only, so that you can interact with maritime banks if you need to. But, otherwise, there's really no reason that you can't operate your corporation on the land. And in fact, all corporations started out on the land and became seagoing, well, I won't say all, I should take that back. But, because there's always been a percentage of corporations that were set up to operate on the sea, but they were maybe 10, 12%. And then all of a sudden, because of the way the British were manipulating things, all of these corporations got set up as seagoing corporations, and the land corporations were unlawfully converted. So just, lawfully convert right back. It's up to you. It's your corporation. You get to operate in the venue that makes sense for you. Now, obviously, if you're a shipping company and your business involves shipping cargoes from point A to point B, well, you're involved in maritime commerce, right? You're involved in sea connected things. So you may want a seagoing corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Which likewise, if you're not into any of that, you don't have anything to do with the sea. So why would you be into the sea jurisdiction?
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
Okay, Donna is saying, and I know you've answered this a lot of times, Anna, but maybe Donna's new. I don't know. Anna, have you tried to communicate with Donald Trump to work with our assemblies? It seems like his message seems similar to what we are wanting. Perhaps he is just copying our way to live.
I have communicated with members of Donald Trump's inner coterie, and I have sent them multiple messages, books. In fact, this book, America, Some Assembly Required,
Yes.
was written for Donald Trump.
Yes.
And it's an executive summary of the history and a kind of a point by point and blow by blow very fast read, bullet point type presentation, an executive presentation. And if you are an executive type person and you have an executive mindset and you deal with bullet points well, this is the book for you. And it was written for Donald Trump. My very first YouTube video, the only one that I personally released myself, was addressed to Donald Trump when he was president. So yes, I have made every effort to communicate with Mr. Trump, but you have to realize that Trump is working as the CEO of a foreign corporation. And if what he wants to do is operate as the CEO of a foreign corporation, he can't operate at the same time as an American on the land and soil of this country. He has to operate as either a Roman under the Roman Curia and the municipal government, the United States Inc., or he has to operate as a British territorial under the United States of America Inc. Okay? So, for whatever reasons, Mr. Trump obviously has an affinity for this country and wants to see it succeed, which is sometimes at odds with the shareholders of his corporation, or the corporation, the Roman corporation, which is communist now. But he's the big time CEO. He's the guy from Wharton Business School. He's the guy that's investing billions here and billions there and making deals and wheeling and dealing. I mean, this is his world. And he doesn't. That's where he is powerful. That's where he has his education. That's where he has his experience. I can understand why he wants to be in the corporate world, but still wants to benefit this country. And that puts him at odds with an awful lot of people who just want to tear this country apart and use it and abuse it. Okay? Mainly because they've been misled about who we are and what we value and what we do, because what they see, what other countries see, is all this aggression and all this rapacious, horrible criminal behavior by the Americans, who are being misdirected by the British, who are being misdirected by the Roman Curia. And, once you start actually dissecting this problem, it goes straight back to Rome. And from Rome, it goes to Britain, and from Britain, it spreads everywhere else. And it's not the Americans. The Americans have been misled, lied to, abused, used. Our guys are not told that they're entering indentured servitude when they volunteer to serve in the military, and they're not told that it's not their military. They're given the impression all the way along that this is a legitimate soldiery, and in fact, it is a bunch of mercenaries that are just hiring on the cheap. Fellas, ladies, gentlemen, we have been sold a bill of goods, and we have been left to be the fall guys. And so people all over the world hate us and think that we profited from all of this warring and pillaging, when in fact all of that was sucked away by Britain and Rome.
Yep.
So if you want to know the truth, the Americans are not the problem. The problem is sitting in Britain and in Rome, and it's been there for hundreds of years. Oh, and there's a side business in Belgium.
Oh,
But
it's also the same thing. Like, it's not the Russians either. It's not
right.
the Chinese.
It's not the Russians.
It's the corporations. Simply the corporations.
Yes. Okay. And this last question about the hippy dippy handyman service in Colorado. So Mr. Hippy Dippy guy, he's saying, what if I move to another state with a similarly named LLC? Well, if we're not an LLC, we're just not an LLC, right, Anna?
Right.
Yeah.
Think about limited liability this way, and think about insurance this way. Insurance is legalized gambling.
Yep.
That's basically all it is. However, if you're doing business in the actual state, you're indemnified. So, indemnification As long as you're not doing something that's reckless and irresponsible, then you shouldn't have to worry about insurance.
What
Because
happened? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That springs a couple of questions that I would have. What happens if you are doing business in adjacent or any other state as well? Does that indemnity go away because it's only good in your state?
no.
Okay.
No. Indemnity is insurance for persons.
Yes.
Okay. You can get private insurance to cover your own butt, right? We all know that, but it's legalized gambling.
Right.
Okay. Indemnity and state immunity are different issues. On the public side, you have state immunity, right? We're all familiar with the concept of state immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So on that side, you have state immunity. On the private side, you have indemnity. And that's designed so that the people of the state and the businesses of the state are not subject to, I guess you would call, frivolous insurance claims.
Right.
If you murder someone in the course of your business, you're going to be held accountable for murder. If you steal from somebody in the course of your business, you're going to be held accountable for stealing. But you're not going to be held accountable if an ice storm comes and a ice berm forms on the roof of your building, and the ice falls off and by accident kills a passerby.
Right.
You know, you're not going to be held accountable for these things that you commonly are insuring yourself against. In our system of things, the state has indemnity for you, is bonded for to conduct business in the state. So at this point, we have, several thousand Americans who have taken up the pledge and done the duty and gone the whole full circle of being incorporated as a maritime corporation and then come back and lawfully converted. And those people who have lawfully converted are indemnified. Their business is indemnified. That you have to post that indemnity bond in order to conduct business. That's why you do it. And so, that's what that 15 trillion in indemnity bond is for, is to allow us to conduct business internationally and be indemnified against frivolous claims of damages that don't exist really, or that we had nothing to do with.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning is a really interesting new day. And so, Anna, if you decide that you want to do some kind of post something report, let me know. And outside of that, we will see you next Tuesday. And we will be going to Massachusetts Sunday and coming back. I'll be back Monday night so that I can be back here on the show to tell everybody about how our reunion goes up there in Massachusetts, because we're going to celebrate the signing of the Mayflower Compact.
What a great opportunity to read the compact, understand what a compact is, because that underlies the whole idea of the assemblies.
Okay. I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we look forward to meeting everyone who comes for that. And we're going to miss you there, Anna. And I wish that we had a big old screen that we could just pop up over there, and maybe we could just have you zoom in or something.
Well, this event is being advertised as a family reunion for Americans.
Yep. Yes.
And so it should be great. And there should be lots of Americana there. You should be eating cranberries and lobster, and, you should have a great time. And I really kind of envy you being able to just pop up the coast and go there. It sounds like a wonderful event, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun and you'll meet a lot of like-minded folk. And I'm sure that Lisa will have more details for anybody who's a latecomer who wants to just, on the spur of the moment decide to join you.
Yes.
You can all join me on the next podcast, which is called America, Some Assembly Required, just after the book, right?
That's right.
Yes. But yeah, Lisa's waiting for me, so I should be jumping off and getting my cup of coffee in between podcasts this
In
morning.
between. Yep. Well, we will see you guys next week, friends.
And
Bye, everybody.
you all, and